is up, guys? EJ here, aka Puckmon007, and welcome to the Movie Reviewers 100, this great collaboration channel here on YouTube that I am proud to be a part of. And this week is Star Wars week, a great week, obviously. If you're from my generation, you obviously grew up on Star Wars, and one way or another you have an opinion on it. The original trilogy, and of course the prequels that came out in the late 90s and 2000s. Much like Alan, I grew up loving Star Wars. I watched the movies when I was a kid. I was exposed to them early on. I collected all the figures and vehicles, and unfortunately though, when I moved to this country back in the early 90s, they got lost in the shuffle somehow. Kind of a shame, because they'd be worth quite a bit of money these days, even though they were all out of box and played with 100 times. But later on in life, a few years ago, about 5 years ago, I wanted to sort of recollect all those great action figures from the Star Wars universe. And I have a pretty nice little collection, mainly from the first film, Star Wars, at least the characters. But I got a bunch of the vehicles. I've got a great Millennium Falcon, an X-Wing fighter, and a TIE fighter, and so on and so forth. And they really sort of remind me of those childhood years, growing up on the great franchise, the great trilogy. So yeah, Alan did a great review of Star Wars yesterday, the original film. And that happens to be my favorite Star Wars movie. So I'm going to do his favorite Star Wars movie, The Empire Strikes Back, from 1980. It only seemed fitting, since he did the first one, I should do the next one in the franchise. Yeah, The Empire Strikes Back, directed by Irvin Kershner, whose other major contributions include Never Say Never Again, from 1983. Of course, the James Bond film that went opposite the official James Bond film, Octopussy, that year in 1983. Of course, starring Sean Connery. Basically a remake of Thunderball. Not one of my favorite Bond movies, but it's an interesting one, and I watch it every year. And he also directed RoboCop 2, I think in like 1990, whenever that movie came out. It's been a long time since I've seen RoboCop 2. So anyway, The Empire Strikes Back, it's a big favorite amongst most Star Wars fans. I mean, many fans consider it the best Star Wars film, and I'm not really in that boat. At least I wasn't when I was a kid. The film starts off great, obviously. After the destruction of the Death Star at the end of Star Wars, the rebels are scattered across the galaxy, and they've found a new rebel base on the icy planet of Hoth. And the Empire is in hot pursuit, looking for Luke Skywalker and the remaining rebels. And the film obviously starts out on this great looking ice world, and we see Luke and Han riding out on Tauntauns, just sort of scouting the area. And Luke runs into trouble when he runs into a Wampa, sort of a Yeti-like creature, and he gets captured by it. And but he manages to escape using the Force to grab his lightsaber, and he cuts off the arm of the Wampa. And that scene is, since this is the new reissue that came out in 1997, that scene obviously has been added. I think in the original one, you only see the arm. The effect of the actual Wampa isn't very good in the original, and obviously George Lucas went in and changed it and made the creature look a lot better. But he manages to escape, but in the blizzard and the ice cold outside, he basically collapses. His tauntaun dies, And the next day, Han, who is trying to leave Hoth because he has a price on his head from Jabba the Hutt, and Princess Leia isn't very happy about Han leaving them because he's a good fighter and a good man, but sort of only takes care of himself. He goes out to find Luke Skywalker in the cold. It's the only moment in the original trilogy where I believe Han uses a lightsaber when he finds Luke Skywalker, and he cuts open the belly of the dead Tauntaun, and so they can stay warm in the freezing cold. And then, of course, the Empire finds them, and we have the great battle, the opening battle of Hoth, which is many people's opinions the best battle in Star Wars. The Hoth ice battle. You've got the big giant walkers, the Imperial walkers, the AT-ATs, which I have a model of. One of those vehicles. It's probably my favorite in my collection. Yeah, when you first saw those back in 1980, they were just amazing looking, and that's a great battle scene. You've got the snow speeders. It always kind of bugged me that the snow speeders can just like shoot out a cable and they wrap it around the legs and the thing just falls over. That's always kind of cheesy to me. So they eventually escape the planet Hoth. Han goes off with Chewie, Princess Leia, and C-3PO, and Luke has to go off on his X-Wing fighter with R2-D2 because he has to go to the swamp planet or system of Dagobah because he needs to find the Master Yoda to start his full-on Jedi training. And this is where the film sort of breaks off into the second part. The film is really three parts. The stuff in Hoth, the middle section, which is mostly Dagobah, and of course the ending. Yeah, so Luke finds Yoda in the swamp, and you have all those great moments with Yoda and Luke, and Yoda, all his famous lines. You must unlearn what you have learned. I'm not going to do the voice because when I tried doing it yesterday, it just didn't sound very good. And you have Han and the Millennium Falcon trying to avoid capture by the Imperial fleet. Yeah, they get off the planet, but they have trouble escaping the Imperial fleet, and they fly into a asteroid field to sort of take cover. They go to this big asteroid and go in a big cavern inside the big asteroid and hide out there for a while. And then, of course, it turns out to be some giant worm with big teeth, and then they have to escape that. To be honest, this is where I think the film sort of bogs down. I've never been a huge fan of the Dagobah scenes. And I know it's sort of blasphemous to say that because Yoda is such a beloved figure in the Star Wars universe, especially now. I mean, he's sort of like a cult icon. All the like sort of parodies of his voice and the things he says and the way he says them is sort of elevated, I think, those scenes in particular. But yeah, as a kid, those middle scenes just have always sort of bugged me. That's why I didn't really love the film as much as the first one. And when I was a kid, I actually liked Return of the Jedi more than Empire. But over the years, as I've watched the movies every year, which I do around Christmas time, my appreciation of Empire, The Empire Strikes Back, has grown a lot. So eventually, Han and Leia and Chewie and C-3PO, they escape the asteroid field. I love how they escape the fleet. The fleet is about to jump to light speed, and they hang out on the back of one of the Star Destroyers, and they just float away in the garbage as the Imperial fleet goes to light speed to search for them. And so Han figures the best place to find refuge is the cloud city of Bespin, a mining colony, sort of governed by one of his old smuggling pals, played by a new character that's introduced. Of course, Lando Calrissian, played by Billy D. Williams. I should also mention that Yoda was obviously a new character at this point as well, and voiced by Frank Oz. Um, so yeah, Han and Leia and all them, they go to Cloud City to find refuge, but unfortunately for them, the Empire got there first. Darth Vader and his stormtroopers and so on, and they're basically there to set a trap for Luke Skywalker. During his training with Yoda, Luke grows weary of his friends being in danger and suffering and all that sort of stuff. Yoda tries to warn him away from. If he leaves his training, if he doesn't finish it, he'll follow the path of fear and anger, which of course will lead to the dark side. But he goes anyway. He goes to Bespin to rescue Han and Leia and Chewie. And the scenes in Bespin, I love the setting of Cloud City, are very cool. Of course, and this is the final third of the film. Like I said, it's really 3 parts: the beginning, the middle, and the end. This movie has, and they're very distinct, really. So yeah, obviously Han and Leia, they get captured by Vader, and Han gets put in the carbonite freezing block, or whatever you want to call it, and it's a trap for Luke Skywalker. And yeah, so Luke comes, and they sort of feel betrayed by Lando, because he was supposed to be a friend, but Lando, of course, helps them escape eventually. At least he helps Chewie and a now busted up C-3PO. He almost gets turned into scrap metal. He's sort of all broken up. And Leia, they get away, and they manage to get away on the Millennium Falcon. But before that happens, obviously we get probably the most famous lightsaber battle in the Star Wars universe, and that's Luke Skywalker against Darth Vader for the first time. Of course, Luke gets his arm cut off, and he learns that Darth Vader was Anakin Skywalker and his actual father. And that's obviously a spoiler, but if you don't know that already, you shouldn't really be watching this video. I'm always amazed when I encounter people who haven't watched at least the original trilogy. So yeah, everybody loves that moment. It's like the big reveal of the entire first 3 films, and it's a great moment. And everybody says, well, Empire is so great because it ends on such a downer. You know, Han is frozen in carbonite, and Luke learns who he really is and all that. I should also mention this is the first real big glimpse we get of another cult hero, and that's of course the bounty hunter Boba Fett, because he is given Han in the carbonite to take back to Tatooine, to give to Jabba the Hutt, who has the bounty on the Han Solo's head. Yeah, well, that's pretty much all I can say about Boba Fett, except yeah, I think that was his first appearance in the original trilogy, but I think in the reissues in 1997, there's like a short little shot in Tatooine in the first Star Wars film. I think Lucas added that just for the hell of it, whatever. Of course, Boba Fett has a bigger part in at least the beginning of Return of the Jedi. So yeah, that's basically it. The Empire Strikes Back. You've got the Hoth scenes, the ice battle. You've got the middle section, Yoda and Luke Skywalker and Dagobah and Han hiding out from the Empire, and the finale in Bespin, where all of that great stuff happens. Yeah, like I said, right now it's my second favorite Star Wars film, behind the first. But yeah, as a kid, I was not in love with the Dagobah stuff. I never have been, to be honest. I mean, there's some great moments, and Yoda is a great character. he's a funny little dude, and of course he turned awesome in Attack of the Clones, especially. Sort of a moment all Star Wars fans were hoping for. But yeah, and yeah, I really do love Return of the Jedi. I know a lot of people hate the Ewoks, but when you're when that came out, '83, well, I was only 5, but I saw it obviously later on in the '80s when I was a little bit older. That was really one of my favorite Star Wars films. One I remember the most anyway, loving the most. So yeah, The Empire Strikes Back, the second one of the trilogy. This review has been rambling and way too long probably, but thank you for watching as always. Make sure you check out everybody else's reviews this week. I don't know if we're all going to do a different Star Wars film. I mean, there's only, well, 7 to choose from if you include the Clone Wars, but I really don't. And I don't watch the TV show. But yeah, check everybody else's videos out this week. I'm sure they'll be great. So yeah, thank you for watching, and until next time, I'll see you.
Bond. James Bond.